Dante's discussion.
Welcome back to another edition of Dante's Discussion Questions. That's right, where I ask you a question about, this time, Dark Souls 3. Again, of course, that's what we're on to. And you answer it for the next week's video portion, where I put your answers up on here for everyone to see. The question I have here is interesting. It's sort of a, what do you think is best? And the question is, which weapon art, weapon skill do you think is best in the entire game? Now, when researching this, I looked at all these and I didn't realize how many there are. We're not going to, nothing, no staves, no bows, and no shields. We're talking about, basically just strictly weapons, what I'm talking about here. So, I mean, I know bows and staves, like, they're weapons. I'm talking about, you know, more blunt type objects, if you will. Bear with me. Don't get too crazy and literal with it. You get what I'm saying. You know, just not bows, not staves, and not shields as far as weapon art, weapon skill. And that's the question I have for you. What or which weapon art, weapon skill is the best? Now, when thinking about this, don't think, oh, which one's just the best based on its effectiveness. No, that's not necessarily it. You could say which is your favorite, which is your, what you think is the best and why. Your reasoning could be completely wildly different than mine or his or hers or the dog's. It doesn't matter. My point is that you can like anyone you want. And if you have a valid reasoning for why you think it's the best, shoot, put it in there. Put it in the comments below. You'll be featured in next week's video. This is interesting because there are so many, and I didn't realize there were these many or this many. When thinking about this, sometimes, like for instance, perseverance, it's good for quicker weapons, I think. But when you have a great hammer that's so slow that you can like hit somebody twice and roll away, it's terrible, at least in my opinion. So you might like perseverance, but particularly with, I don't know, this axe or these fists or whatever. You get what I'm saying? So try to think of the whole gamut of it and see what you can do. Now, I'm going to go through them all. I'm going to go through every single one of them. Wow. And there are a lot. And it's surprising. Here, of course, on Extra Life, which I go to, and I will be posting this question as well. Wow. Already you can see, like, whoa, look how many there are. Of course, not shields. I'm not counting shields, bows, although the bow one's really cool, or staves. This stave is really interesting. Look at this, noxious spores from formless parasitic thing. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. I haven't even used the staff at all. So let's just go through it. We got blind spot. Use against shielded foes to break through their guard by attacking from the side. This actually has killed me once before, which is pretty funny. I do like it. It is pretty, I think it's really cool, but is it the best? I don't know. You decide. Bloodless skill. Stain blood with one's own blood to temporarily grant uncanny sharpness. Of course, the only one that has it. You hurt yourself, do more damage. Profaned flame. Temporarily summon the profaned flame. Lunge forward and use strong attack to enshroud blade of flame. Seen people use that in the Ultra tournament. Chain spin. Sweep foes in a wild spinning motion and use strong attack to continue the motion until stamina is exhausted. So you just continue until you can't continue no more. Of course, this is the winged, or as some people might like to call it, winged knight, twin axes, and halberds. Puncture is cool, but we're not talking about that. Chained dance. Use strong attack to execute relentless consecutive attacks while tracing a circle in a unique dance of deadly grace. Ah, that's interesting. That's strange because that seems very similar to a lot of the spinny ones from what I remember. Champion's charge. Hold spear at waist and charge at foe. Interesting way to say it. And use momentum to transition into sweeping strong attack. Seen V2 DS2 use this very and extremely effectively. Punitive flame. Punish foes with the flame that blankets the ground. This one is interesting. I've been hit by it. It's weird because the hitbox is very strange. Charge. These are kind of, these have a long distance, but they're not, I don't know, they're weak is what is said. Charge. Hold the weapon at waist. Charge at foe only. It is important to have good footing. Now, there are weapons that benefit from this a little bit more than others, namely Astora's Greatsword, because of the damage it does and the lunge attack. Because this does a lot of damage, Astora is probably the best wielder of this. A lot of these others, especially the spears and, of course, the, what are they? Are these pikes? I think they're pikes, yeah. Spears and pikes don't do enough damage, and that's the issue. So, Astora is probably the best with that one. I'm not sure exactly how the stamina is between them, but Solder and Iron, obviously, the brand is the best weapon, but we don't even talk about that. It's almost like saying, oh, what's the best band in the world? Like, Beatles is #1, but no one talks about it. They're always #1, right? Like, everybody, it's just like, who's #1 after that? That's basically how it Quick Step. A lot of things people like to use, of course, the daggers and the claws have it. Which is mannequin claws specifically. Instantly step behind or around inside foes, especially effective when locked onto targets. What do we got? We got Ricard's lunge and press. Do a quick stance, lunge forward, and execute a stunning chain attack. Sustain offense with a strong attack. This is interesting. I haven't used this yet in this game, especially not a showcase, so that is interesting. I can't wait to actually use that. Crescent Blade. Assume a broad stance and fire off Crescent Moon Blade similar to Holy Moonlight Sword or Great Sword of Judgment. Yeah, I've used this a little bit. It's just too slow. That's the issue with that, at least for me. Sacred Light and Flame. In a stance, use normal attack to cast Sacred Lothric Light and strong attack to cast Flame of Lorien. This weapon is awesome. Weapon arts are awesome. The freaking Lothric Light thing shoots out faster than you expect. It hits me every time, basically. I suck at dodging it. Because usually most things are a little bit slower, so I'm just not used to it. Dancer's Grace. Unleash the fury of both blades and dancing spin motion and use strong attack to continue the performance until stamina is exhausted. I've been beaten by the Dancers, I think recently, actually, which is funny, but it's better than hammers. I'll tell you that much. I've seen people just use this and then get wrecked because all their stamina is gone, and then their stamina is gone, and then you attack them and then they get wrecked. Sacred Lothric Light. Assume stance to imbue sword with Sacred Light and use strong attack to release light together with a great thrust of the sword. I haven't used this one. This is interesting. It looks like it does a lot more power. I don't know exactly how much more power. Again, I haven't really used this or utilized this, but it seems interesting. I am very interested in it. Dark Drift. Aim carefully and pierce with a large forward lunge. The unseen blade penetrates straight through shields, where nothing can defend from Dark Drift. Basically, this is Shield Splitter under a different name. So it's Shield Splitter, but for kataners, if you will. Sharpen. This one's a fun one. Create the blade to sharpen damage buff for machete or regain health with each hit. Butcher Knife. That's interesting. So it's actually a damage buff for the great machete, and for the Butcher's Knife you gain health. I've of course used each of these, but damage and of course health regen. I guess it did. I thought it did more damage as well, but I guess it just brings you a little bit of health back. Demonic Flare. Briefly cause flame within to flare and smash it upon earth and foes. Yeah, this, when it hits somebody, sure, it can do damage, but you're not going to hit anybody unless they are the worst player of all time. I've probably been hit by it, so I'm the worst player. All right, Ember Skill. The fading flame momentarily illuminates and launches itself forward. I've used this a little bit. I think this weapon is terrible, personally. It's pretty short, doesn't do as much damage as it should, and this weapon art is awful. It's hard to hit people, and even when you do, it doesn't do that much damage for how hard it is to hit somebody. Falling Bolt, Dragon Slayer, Great Axe. Hold the weapon high into the air. Gather force, Fierce Lightning, and smash ground to whip the bolts to the ground. Yeah, I've seen people get hit by this. This thing can do ridiculous damage, but again, it's so difficult to actually hit somebody with it that it's kind of bad in that sense. We got Falling Bolt, Dragon Slayer, Sword Spear. Hold weapon high to summon lightning upon its foes. You've seen in my recent video, actually yesterday, with Tortilla the Bun, he somehow he dodged the gods. It was amazing. This thing has an interesting attack, buffs the weapon, does more damage. Interesting weapon, not something I've used yet. Shield Splitter. Aim carefully and attack in a large forward launch, pierce through enemy shields and inflict damage directly. So now Mailbreaker, which is a dagger. Dark Drift, same up there as you saw. Shield Splitter, it's sort of the same, right? Rapier, Spear, and Arster Spear. Interesting with the dagger, it is almost useless. It is very strange because it is terrible. Honestly, it's bad. Beast Bell, as a lot of people use to actually signal when a fight is happening. Hold up the action wave and emit a solemn chime to temporarily make weapons lacerating and to restore HP for each hit. I actually didn't know that it made it lacerating, so that's actually pretty interesting to me. But I did know about the restore health because I did use this weapon, and I don't hate the weapon. I kind of like it, to be honest. Flame of Lorien, of course, this is one half of the other sword we saw up there. Launch forward to transform smoldering into flame and follow a strong attack to launch flame across the ground. This has an interesting area of effect, but again, you know, it's like, oh, I know it's happening, get the hell away so it doesn't destroy you. Flame Whip, unleash a very powerful combo that deals fire damage. Yeah, this is the one that, like, if you're close, you get stunned, and it does massive damage, and if you're far away, it actually can whip you from extreme distances. Really good, and the only one that actually utilizes it. Spin Bash, Drang Hammers, that's it. There's nothing, but it's like you spin, and then if you do the R2, I believe you can do like a bash down to the ground. If you can get the full combo off, it is a lot of damage. And Drang Hammers aren't that great, so that's all you need. Flame Whirlwind, this is an interesting one. Spin through opponents with abandon. That's keyword right there, but I just want to point that out. Abandon is freaking keyword. Flaming Fist outstretched, using a strong attack while spinning, utilize your momentum to slam the ground with both fists. I've seen people basically get the end of this and hit people, and they like fly up in the air. Doesn't do that much damage. Maybe the full combo would, but it's so hard to get somebody with it because it's so damn short. A Spin Bash, it's sort of this. I mean, this does bleed damage, this spiked mace, but Spin Bash is sort of, you know, spin, 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 and then you bash down on the ground. But it's extremely difficult to get away. I'm not sure if it actually has hyper armor. That's one thing to maybe think about in case this was something you thought was the best. Frost. Create a bone-chilling frost with each swing of the great scythe that causes a temporary frost effect. Interesting. I've never used this one. I think I've only used one scythe so far, but I wonder if this actually makes somebody slower. I'm not sure. I haven't used it. I can't say for sure. Like I said, there's a lot of these, and a lot of them I didn't know, actually. Then slash the Goddards. Select the foes with a large spinning motion and follow with the strong attack for a spinning vertical slash. This is actually a very powerful combo. And, of course, especially the end when you poke them for the strong attack. It's a little bit easier to get than a lot of other ones because it has such a decent range with this weapon. So it's actually not too bad, but I'd say most of all the weapon is for roll R1s. Frost Blade. Execute large spinning motion to imbue blade with frost and follow through with the strong attack that slashes with a giant blade made of frost. This is actually interesting because the range on this thing is incredible. When you get the frost thing to come out, it like doubles, maybe even triples the range. But the only issue is it's sort of in like a diagonal motion, so people can get out of it if they go the opposite way of the slices. So that's sort of a downplay on that one. Then slash vertical. Damn it, I can't. Not exactly sure. I can't think of how this looks right now, but I'm assuming since it says vertical, it's up and down. Scimitar, Shotel, Rotten Grew. It's probably the same as this except vertical. Honestly, I don't know. Again, I have used those weapons, but I can't think of it in my head right now. Galvanize, temporarily boost stamina recovery speed by sheer force of will, or perhaps as a channeling of the original owner's industrial efforts. War Pick and Pickaxe. I have used these, and I mean, it's the problem with this is you can't be aggressive with these weapons. So even if you had the stamina recovery, like it's almost null and void, right? Like that's ridiculous. What? Because you can't just run after somebody. I don't understand. It sucks. The other weapons would benefit so much, probably like daggers. But the problem is it also isn't like such a boost where it's like, whoa, wow, it's like instant. If it was like an instantaneous thing, sure, but it isn't, and that's lame. Bench slash, horizontal instead of vertical. Falchion, Carthage curved sword. Interesting. Okay. And Carthage Shotel. Of course, we all know that the Carthage curved sword doesn't need it. But it has it, and it's actually pretty decent. Bench slash, twin swords. South sword, twin blades, and Warden twin blades is probably the same exact thing. Actually, I think it is named the same. Yeah, so it's probably the same exact thing, except with these weapons. Spin slash, great, with these great Murakumo Exile Great Sword. Yeah, I mean, you've seen this, I'm sure, a ton of times. And this spin slash vertical with the Carthage Curve Sword is interesting because I think that, is this the one that he sort of does like a step back? That one is very interesting. I feel like someone could utilize that very well, but I haven't really seen it because no one uses those weapons. Um, here we go. Guiding light. A candle provides a temporary source of light which reveals additional guidance. I think we got our winners here, guys. I think we got them. Scholar's Candlestick and Cleric's Candlestick. Is the Cleric's... Is that even a weapon? I know the Scholar's is a weapon. Is Cleric a... I think the Cleric's might be... Actually, can I check? Is this even a weapon? Or is it a... Oh, it looks like it is a weapon. I was just thinking if it was a weapon or if it was a... I don't know why I can't think of it. I keep wanting to say charm. I'm ridiculous. It's not a staff, but it's a something. Stupid hand things. Whatever. I'm dumb. Cut this out. Cut this out, director. Alright, hold. Assume a stance from which to execute a lunging attack or a deflecting parry. Yeah, this is really cool. One of my favorites in the game. Actually, I would say it might be my favorite only because of how cool it is. That stance is just so cool looking and it's like so menacing looking and you can parry somebody with it. The attack is actually really good, especially with the watching pole because the distance is absurd. Oh, here we go. Here is definitely one of the best in the game. I've seen people utilize this for massive damage. Sweep foes in a large spinning motion and utilize momentum to transition into a overhand strong attack slash. People use this with the Black Knight Glaive and it is devastating. Wow. Because you can get them with, I think, an R1 and then you can get them with the spin and then you can get a combo because if somebody, you can roll punish them. So if somebody panic rolls, blah, 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 you know, you get the picture. It can get rough. Wow. Impact. Strike from the left to evade shields and deal a stinging blow that temporarily slows. Stamina recovery. The shackles of bondage lie deep in the hearts of all humankind. Whip, notch whip, spotted whip. I have not used whips that often because they're bad in this game. At least in Dark Souls 2, they were okay. They were like not necessarily good for just the whip itself as a weapon, but sort of an ancillary secondary weapon that you can do like a spin attack and all this stuff. But in this game, they're just too slow and too easy to dodge. Except for the one whip, which sort of only has the weapon art, but you have to use it correctly. Stance is the normal stance where, you know, you put it over your shoulder and you point at your foe. While in stance, normal attack, you break a foe's guard from below and a strong attack to slash upwards with a forward lunge. Yeah, this one is really interesting. It's what's interesting actually a little bit more is that it almost seems like the broadsword gets a larger lunge forward. I don't know if that's just me. It almost seems like it does. The other ones have it supposedly, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like any other one benefits. As far as the R1, I definitely know the L2 R1 a lot myself because I use a shield sometimes, and that's how you break a guard. With these, one strike, go to front stab city, baby. All right. What is this? Kindled charge, hold the spear and waist and charge as a foe and use momentum to transition into a fiery strong attack. This is the one where you jump in the air and then you plunge down and it like explodes the earth. Stand, rapier, crystal sage, rapier. I think this is just a regular stance that you can lunge forward or you can do like a sort of step back swipe thing. It's actually pretty good, and if you utilize it well, it's really good. Kindled fury, anchor weapon in earth and use strong attack to launch a successive volleys of fire from the tip of the hammer. I haven't used this, but this sounds interesting. Like a projectile thing. I haven't used it, so I don't even know if I've seen it. That seems crazy. That seems terrible. Like somebody's going to the city. That's all I know. Stance great sword is basically the same as the straight sword. Claymore, Drake, blah 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 blah. You see it. You can read. I hope. But yeah, you know, you lunge forward a little bit. Although it doesn't seem like it's definitely not as much. And you can break somebody's guard with the R1. Leaping slash. This is the one that's the bane of a lot of people's existence. Perform a leaping slash at the opponent's head when successful functions as a headshot, inflicting heavy damage. Of course, it's the Onakiri, Abadabeeps, and claws. I've seen people utilize the claws, but it's like when you see that happen, you know they're gonna go for it. That's what's annoying with it. The Onakiri is a little bit better because you can sort of have more of a wide variety of attacks with it. So yeah, that's the issue with that one. Stance of Judgment. Assume stance to unleash dark magic. Use normal attack for lunging thrust and strong attack to emit side sweepoing. Side sweepoing. I just want to point that out. Wave. I honestly I haven't used this weapon, so I don't know what the hell that looks like, but that seems like a lot of fun. I gotta be honest with you. Life Drain. One of my favorites. Embrace the victim and steal their HP. Can only be used against humans. I wish this did more damage. This should almost be. This should be one of those interesting things where it's like, it's the only weapon where if you get somebody with it, no matter where their life is, it takes half their life away or something like that. That would be cool. Like, so if you did it once, it would be 50% of their life. You did it again, they would be at 25%. Be like diminishing returns, but in the beginning, it's the way to go. I don't know. I just think mechanics like that are cool. Like, it seems overpowered, but then really it kind of isn't. Also extremely difficult to get. Stomp. Use one weight to lunge forward with a low stance and increased poise, and follow with a strong attack for a spinning slash. Pretty bad. I mean, I think the stomp actually stuns the enemy, but it's so slow, the spinning slash, that it's almost worthless. Really, this is more utilized for either stopping them, hyper armoring through them, or doing just a different attack, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it personally. Lightning charge. Charge with a spear at ways to enwreathe. That's interesting. With lightning, then release bolts with final thrust. I don't know exactly how much damage this does, but this is interesting because it shoots out something. So even if you're extremely far away, you can still have a chance to actually hit something. That is interesting. Oh my god. Molten Perseverance. Anchor weapon in the earth to temporarily boost poison. Use strong attack to repeatedly stab the earth to trigger molten explosions. This, I have sad and bad memories with this. Using this weapon, sure, it's like, oh, if you... Firstly, it's impossible to hit somebody. But what's sad is when you do hit somebody, it does almost nothing. It's so dumb. Stuff like that, it just blows my mind. I mean, I understand it for PvE, but PvP, come on. So ridiculous. Alright, Storm King. Assume stance to imbue sword with storm. Most effective when facing giants. You need to hold the stance until it shines brightly with the storm. Stance plus R1 or R2 to unleash the sword's deadly fury. This is one of the more interesting and crazy weapon arts in the game. Of course, you have to use this to beat... well, you don't have to use it to beat a boss, but if you don't, the boss will probably take like 2 hours or something like that. So, yeah. Storm Ruler. Just like, it's like a wave of air, just destruction that comes down. It's really cool. I'm not sure exactly how much damage it does to a to an actual person, but it's just really cool. Moonlight Vortex. Draw sword back and thrust to unleash torrential moonlight. Hard to hit somebody with it, but again, if somebody is aggressive and they're trying to roll forward, you can get that double hit, but it's very difficult. People are trying to catch you off guard or get around you. What is this? Steady Chant. Boosts the strength of sorceries for a very short period. Works while equipped in either hand. Of course, I'm not talking about... oh, actually, I'm not sure what the hell. Is that a staff? I'm not... No, that's a spear. Okay, so it's this spear, the Ritual Spear, and Hazel's Pick. I haven't really used either of these because magic... I haven't done my magic run-through yet, but... yeah, it seems interesting. I don't know. It seems like very short period that almost makes me worry about it, honestly. Orange Rage. Stick weapon into the earth and emit a powerful shockwave, temporarily boost poise and reduce damage received. That is pretty cool. I don't know if I've used this, so I can't say for instance, but again, it's a great hammer. Even if you use it or don't use it, you're just not going to hit an enemy. That's almost how that goes. It's ridiculous. Wow, this is actually cool. I'm only mentioning it because I don't even remember. Lunge into a shoulder, tackling position enemies to create distance. Deals no damage and serves as a kind of kick. That's just interesting, but we're not talking about that. Neck swipe, one of my favorites that extremely hard to get off. The attack aims for the scruff of a foe's neck and when unsuccessful functions as a headshot inflicting heavy damage. This is so slow. It's almost a brilliant roll punish, but man, it is tough. It's cool though, at least. Headshot, neck swipe. Oath of the Sunlight. Raise the sword aloft when praising the sun to boost attack and damage absorption for self and allies in vicinity. It's very strangely worded, I gotta say. The Warriors of Sunlight are cooperators from an ancient age. This is interesting. It just buffs the weapon, basically. It's Sacred Oath, basically. You know, it does more damage, but you have to have the stats for it. My character does not, so I haven't used it. Tornado. Imbue the blade with the Wrath of the Storm in a spinning motion and follow with a strong attack to bear the wrath upon foes. Basically, the spinning slash horizontal with more flair. I think this one also is kind of like the ice one, where its last slash is almost like tripling the weapon. But again, it's a little bit easy to get away from. But it's also sort of interesting how you can hit people from a crazy distance. So it's difficult to really say. Pacify. With a prayer and an offering of the spear, temporarily wear down enemy FP. That is interesting. That's weird. I've not used this clearly. That is weird. I wonder how much it does. That is very strange. That is very interesting. Parry weapons. These are just all the weapons that have parry abilities. Some of them, yeah, obviously some of them are left hand only. But the ones that aren't, Parrying Dagger, Pharaon Greatsword. Actually, those are the only two. Parrying Dagger, Pharaon Greatsword. And from what I understand about the Pharaon Greatsword, it is like almost like a medium shield parry. So it's not even that great. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Unleash Dragon. Thrust the spear to unleash the strength of a dragon, similar to an ancient dragon weapon, only with its power tragically faded. Yeah, these are absolutely terrible. Even, again, it's one of these sad things. Even if you do hit somebody, you do, like, no damage. So it's almost like worthless. I think they do fall over, the only good thing. But, like, you're still in the animation. I don't understand it. I would have changed that so much. War Cry. Some of people's favorites. Let out a spirited war cry that temporarily boosts attack and enables a special consecutive strong attack. One thing that's interesting about this, a lot of people don't realize. Actually, I didn't even realize this. Is that the Man Serpent Hatchet? I did not realize that had that, but is that when you're one-handed and you do an R2, you also do the War Cry. You don't need to be two-handed. Of course, I think you're going to do more damage two-handed, but still, it is pretty interesting. And is that it? No, it is not. We have so many. Okay. Wheel of Fate, I just want to point out, Bone Wheel Shield is pretty cool. You just shred enemies with it. I just think it's fun. Alright, anyways, Perseverance. Cross arms in front of the body, temporarily boost poise, damage reduced while activated. Of course, a lot of people utilize this with the Cestus extremely, and a lot of these other ones, really, at least for me, the ones that sort of utilize it decently well, Cestus and the Red Hilted Halberd. Sort of Smoes, but really everything else is just like too slow. Even Smoes, just too slow. That's the problem. Black Knight Sword though, that's a little bit faster. It's still slow enough. Well, it depends on their weapon. I mean, if they have a great weapon, you might be able to get it off. Other than that, it's rough. They have boosted it. They have made it longer, but still, the weapons are just too slow. Too slow. Oh, this is a very unique one. Wolf leaps. Then slice into foes with a large spinning motion, then leap out of harm's way and follow with a strong attack. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is not the. This is the one I talked about earlier with the curved greatsword. This is the one where you do like sweep and stuff, and then you lunge backward. Really cool. It's pretty interesting. It keeps you or gives you space, and I don't know. I've been thinking of ways to utilize this better, having a secondary weapon in case somebody tries to run at you. I don't know. Interesting. It's very interesting. I think people get really good with that. Let's go with Wrath of the Gods. Thrust weapon into the earth to emit powerful shockwave. I haven't really used this. Can't really say how it works, but it sort of probably just is exactly what it says. Hey-oh. And then Wolf Sword. This is the one I was thinking of. While in stance, use normal attack for a low spinning slash or the strong attack to leap forward in a vertical slashing somersault. So here's the thing. I've used this weapon. If you knock somebody down, parry, whatever, and they're on the ground, if you do the spinning slash as soon as they are down, it's one of the best, if not the best, wake ups in the game. It's crazy good. You're almost guaranteed to hit. Almost. It's awesome. But you have to do it exactly when they're down, like as soon as they're down. As for the strong attack and leap, that is backstab city right there. If you watch my video, that's definitely what happens to you. You get absolutely wrecked with it most of the time. What is interesting about it, however, is that if you're right next to somebody, the first little, like, I don't know what you call it, like setup lunge thing, you do stun them, so you actually can get it if you're really close. If you're really far, you're getting taken to the city, straight up. There's no denying that. But whew, there we go. That's all of them. A ton of them. And if you want to do like an honorable mention on like a shield or something else like that, a bow or whatever, go ahead. Whatever. Let's just have fun with this. But I'm going for strictly weapons here. So let me know what you think. Definitely 100%. Please put it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. What is the best weapon art? Tell your friends. Tell everybody. Join the conversation. And I will be back.